Thank you. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. So today we're going to be doing a raw vegan apple crumble. Before we get started, is everybody ready? Has everybody washed their hands?
Yes.
Everybody all the ingredients. Okay. So basically, I've got all of my ingredients out in front of me. It's all measured out. It's called a mise en place. So that's a French saying. Basically, it means to have everything out in front of you ready before you even think about assembling anything.
What was the word again, Tom?
Mise en place.
Mise en place.
Yeah. Okay.
So you've already given us
everything
new.
is. Sorry.
You've already given us something new.
Okay. Okay. So first off, we're gonna prepare the filling, which is 6 apples. So I'm going to be using a mandolin for this, and I just want to say these are Jazz apples from the UK. They're not organic. Usually I do like to use organic apples, but I couldn't get any, so it's just one of them things. And I just wanted to show you these other apples. These are Crumble apples, and these are actually pink inside. I'll show you that later. But something I learned off Dr. Graham, always know the variety of the fruit that you get, the vegetable. So you can recreate the recipe and make it exactly the same as before, if you like it. Okay, so I'm going to be using a mandolin, and I've got it set on the lowest setting. You can see that this is extremely sharp. And basically here, you can just alter that for the thickness of the slices that you want. And I've also got this, where you basically put the apple or whatever you're cutting inside there, and it protects your hands from getting cut. And you can also get a glove for that too. So we're going to be cutting about 6 apples to begin with. So if you'll start doing that, please. And if you've got any questions, or if I'm speaking too fast, just let me know.
So Tom, you're not peeling your apples, right?
No, that's another thing that I was going to say. So I actually like the skin, but you can peel the apples. When I was younger, I always used to peel apples, and a lot of people do. And also, they're not organic, so recommended that you would peel them, but for this, I'm not going to peel them. Dr. Graham, what's your take on apples? Do you buy organic or?
Yeah, I tend to buy organic apples, pears, and berries, celery, lettuce, all the stuff that's readily available. I'll go for organic, but I understand you can't always get it. If you can't get it, you can't get it.
I mean, if you're in the UK, you can get Tesco and Sainsbury's do a whole organic range, or you can just grow your own if you've got an allotment, which is even better. But obviously, that takes time for the tree to grow. So
it does. A lot of people have trouble with the skin on conventionally grown fruit, especially apples and pears. But I know just as many people who don't. So
yeah.
For me, it's just a matter of herbicides, fungicides, pesticides. We want to minimize that.
Yeah. So I've actually cored these apples. I've been having some trouble with this mandolin. So I've actually cored the apples, and as I've cut them, I'm cutting them in half and then just putting them in a bowl, ready for later. So this is just going to go into the filling for the crumble, and then I'll eat these later. If anybody's got any questions, just ask.
So you cored the apples before the show started?
I did, yeah.
Oh, sneaky. And what did you use? Yeah.
Just the standard. I was in Germany last week, and we actually found some delicious apples, and I really wanted to use them. I forgot the name of the apples, but They're so delicious, I ended up just eating them in Germany. But we got them from a farmer's market. That's usually the best place to get any sort of fruit or anything. With Pierre and Ronnie.
So Tom, what kind of apple will be ideal for what you're trying to accomplish? Juicy, sweet, sour, firm, soft?
These are actually, these are jazz apples from the UK, and these are really sweet, I don't know if you can see, and they're pretty crisp and firm. But when we've done the crumble, I'm going to put it in the fridge. I mean, you haven't got to, but ideally you put it in the fridge for 24 hours, just so the apples go a bit gooey with the sauce. This mandolin isn't the best. And you can actually get gloves for this, which you wouldn't be using this, you'd actually be using gloves. And they protect your hand in case you slip.
Have you ever cut yourself in a mandolin, Tom?
No, but I've cut myself on a knife. I think I did it at the 80-10-10 twice. Have you?
What did you cut yourself on?
On a knife.
On a knife, yeah.
With a knife, yeah.
You got to really treat the mandolin with care, folks.
Yeah, definitely. Really do. I don't really like using them, especially if I haven't got anything like this.
Tom, are you trying to do like uniform pieces, or as long as it's a slice, doesn't matter?
So all of the slices look like this, pretty uniform. Because when you cut into the crumble, you're going to see the layers.
Okay.
So I want them all even, like a half, like a rainbow. Okay, so I've got a bowl full, if you can see that. Is that me?
Who's that?
Somebody's got their phone going.
Go on mute. And then turn it on. It is on because it got, I heard it there. Have to register.
Okay.
Yeah, you keep going, Tommy.
Okay, so I've got a lemon here. I'm just going to sprinkle a bit of lemon juice on them apples just to stop them from browning. I'm going to roll.
Yeah, you rolled it in your hands first, and now you're rolling it on the table as well. What's that?
So it's just going to release all the juices inside, and I'm going to get more juice out basically. So I'm just going to cut that in half.
Is lime okay?
Water. I've never used lime, but probably, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would always use lime.
Would you?
I love it with lemon, but I'd use
Yeah.
lime. I like lime better. Personal preference.
Yeah. Okay, so I've just put a quarter, probably 2 tablespoons of lemon juice on them apples. I'm just going to mix them together. Is everybody okay, or do you want me to slow down?
You're good.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to make the sauce, what's going to go on top of those. So as I said before, I've got everything out here in front of me. And I've already said this about the raisins, or were we talking about that before? Larissa?
Don't know.
Oh,
I
it's
was
okay. So,
shredding my apples.
okay. So in the recipe, I only put raisins. I forgot to put the dates. So I apologize, it's my fault, but we do need 1 cup of dates. If you haven't got them, you can just use raisins instead. So
I got dates.
So I'm going to pit about 3/4 of a cup of these dates, and I'm going to check inside each date for mold as I do that. Sometimes you just get black mold inside, and even you can get like creatures living in there and stuff. That should be fine. So now I'm going to be using 3 apples into the food processor, and I'm just going to cut them off just so the blades can handle them better. Can you see that? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just going to cut them up into small cubes. I think that I've got a new bowl. Do you like it?
Beautiful.
Do you like that? Just for this show. So they are going to go into the food processor. That's 1 apple done.
Tom, I'm just curious if you have a personal story behind the apple crumble.
Well, we did it at the 8 to 10 food and sport retreat, but we did it without, there was no allspice, there was no cinnamon, and there was no nutmeg. But yeah, so this is basically a variation of that recipe and another recipe. Yeah. Can you remember, were you there then, Larissa, or not? She gone. That's 2.
Tom, do you prefer any particular dates? Which one are you using?
Medjool, these are Medjool. The nicest dates I had actually ever were from the UK Fruit Fest. And they were Medjool, they were amazing. And also, if your dates are really shriveled up and dry, you can put them in water overnight just to get some more moisture back in there. I was talking about dates earlier on, actually. There's a store near me, they've got like 10 different varieties. It's amazing. Okay, so that's 3 apples chopped into the food processor. And now I'm going to put them dates in as well. And I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Put 2.5 in, why not? And then about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And just a pinch of allspice. So to that, I'm going to add just a little drizzle of water just to help it along. And just a handful of raisins. Now with raisins, I was trying to get the ones without any oil on, but you can see. They put oil on the raisins to basically preserve them and keep the nutrients locked in and keep them moist. But I've never actually seen any completely raw without any oil, other than when I was in Spain about 2 weeks ago. I actually brought a punnet of grapes and there was raisins on the actual punnet. It was amazing and they were really sweet and juicy. How long does it take for that to happen, Dr. Graham? Is it?
Well, it actually happens pretty quickly if the weather is supportive. When I've gone to Israel, they don't oil the raisins there. They cut it's a vineyard. They cut the grapes off the vine. They put them on the ground because the ground really heats up. And then in the sun and the warmth of the ground, the grapes dry into raisins, which they come back for a few days later, and then they process the raisins and sell them as is, without oil. But here in the States, for sure, in the States and through Europe, you'll see that raisins are oiled for all the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah. Okay, another thing, clean as you go. So just keeping a nice clean area so you haven't got a mess everywhere and you know where everything is. Is everybody okay? I can't see everybody.
We're good.
Yeah,
everything's good.
Okay, so I'm gonna process that what I've just mixed up.
Can you review the food processor?
Say again, sorry.
Can you just review real quick what's in the food processor?
Okay, so in the food processor, there's 3 apples chopped, about 3/4 cup of pitted dates, and 2.5 tablespoons of cinnamon, 1/4 tablespoon of nutmeg, and teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a pinch of allspice. And then I've just added a tiny drop of water just to help it blend.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. So if your mix is really dry, you can keep adding water until it gets to a nice smooth consistency, because we want it to stick to the apples what we sliced earlier. Okay, and then we're just going to scrape the sides. I saw on Sherry's show, she had the device, what you turn around. Have you seen that on food processors? What scrapes the
That's
sides?
really nice.
Genius. Okay, perfect.
I'm using Vitamix. What consistency would you like to accomplish?
It's going to be a very quick pulse on a Vitamix,
Yeah.
unless you have adjustable speed, in which case it's going to be a very slow speed, and still you're better off not doing it too much. You can always process it a little bit more, but once it turns to pudding, it's going to be hard to get those bits and pieces, and he wants those bits and pieces for texture and to separate out the flavors a bit.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Cheers, Doug. And then I'm just going to pour that onto the apples, what we sliced earlier. Smells delicious. And I know what this tastes like, but usually I'd be tasting as I went on, just to make sure if I needed more cinnamon or anything. So, I'm going to mix this up with my hands, so don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. I could have done with a bigger bowl, but it's all good. Just make sure all of those slices of apples are coated. Just going to wash my hands. Okay, so everybody okay?
So you just mix that in the apples, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then what you want to do is just transfer that into your serving dish. Just make sure all those apples are nice and flat. So I'm just going to wash this out.
How artistic do you have to be with that crust, Tom? Since nobody's going to see it, really.
With the crust?
Yeah.
The filling or the crust?
Filling, yeah, the filling.
I mean, you can lay them out, you know, hand place them all in and get them all nice, but it's the crust what people see. It's the taste anyway. It doesn't really matter. I mean, presentation does matter, but it's the taste, I think. So you can just tip that into the serving bowl, and then flatten it down. Just make sure it's all pretty compact.
It tastes so good, Tom.
Nice, isn't it? And then what you want to do, just give your food processor just a quick clean. Everybody okay?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, Tom. It's Allie.
Oh, hi, Sally.
So I missed the first like 10 minutes. Did you guys do the crust with the nuts and the lemon with the sliced apples?
We've done the
With
filling basically. So basically we're just up to this stage. We haven't done the crust yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
have you sliced any apples yet?
No, I just did the filling.
So you've made the sauce?
Sorry?
Have you made the sauce?
Yes, that's the part I made.
Okay, so basically what you want to do is get, well, it depends how big your serving dish is, but like 4 or 5 apples, and you want to slice them really thin with a mandolin.
Okay.
You've got a mandolin. Yeah. All right, Ali?
Yeah, thank you, Tom.
I put my apples on the standing dish. Is that okay?
Oh, nice, yeah.
Okay, good.
Very creative, Larissa. Everyone else okay? Yeah, okay. So now what we're going to do is make the crust. So I've got basically 1 cup of pecans, 1 cup of walnuts, and I'm going to add 3 dates because that's what I've got left here. And I'm also going to add some raisins. If you didn't want to use any nuts, you could use dried mulberries, figs, yeah, and any sort of dried fruit. Anything else, Dr. Graham?
No, you're spot on. I mean, you can use what you have around the house.
Yeah,
I keep a good variety of dried fruits around the house, but then I've got a teenage girl that loves to eat. When it's just Rosie and me, we kept very little dried fruit in the house. We tended to eat fresh almost all the time. But it's a great fallback. And for this recipe, I mean, dried fruit is a real plus. But it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It could be dried pieces of apricot or dried pieces of pineapple or dried pieces of mango. I mean,
yeah,
dried fruit, they'll all work.
yeah. And I'm sure that we did it with mulberries as well
Yes.
one night. Okay, so I've got 1 cup of pecans, 1 cup of walnuts, and then I'm going to pick these dates again and also add some raisins. Okay, Ali?
Tom, if I'm trying to minimize the amount of nuts, okay, could you give me an alternative for that?
Yeah, I mean, you could use mulberries, dry fruits.
Definitely, you definitely can make the whole thing much sweeter. And if you just take mulberries and run them through a food processor, you'll end up with a crumble that would easily substitute for nuts.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'll mix a little bit of nuts and mulberries. I think that will do.
I have a small amount of walnuts and a small amount of pecans. And then I have sunflower seeds.
Okay. Cool.
So that for the crust, that was 1 cup of walnuts, 1 cup of pecans, 3 dates, and how many raisins?
I'm just going to put a hand, basically the dates and the raisins are just to bind the nuts together into the crumble. So I've got just basically a handful of raisins and then 3 dates. Usually, I mean, you could use 7 dates instead of any raisins. So you could just leave the raisins out. I mean, and you could also add some more cinnamon or nutmeg. Okay, so I'm just going to blend these together to make the crumble. And you don't want to blend too much. You just want to keep an eye on it and just get, I'll show you the consistency in a second. Smells delicious. Can everybody see that? I actually like to see little bits of dates in there. Just like a little crunch. How are we for time, Larissa?
You're good. You got another 10 minutes if you want it.
Yeah, okay.
15.
Okay, and then and then we're just going to pour the crumble on top of the apples.
So this is so slick to put the crust on top.
Yeah. So what? Sorry.
So slick. It's a good move.
Yeah.
Could you have put it top and bottom if you wanted
Yeah.
to
could
do
have
the
done.
extra work? I mean, if you wanted.
Yeah, and then like pushed it down a bit. Mhm.
And then dehydrate the whole thing and serve it as a cookie.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah. My dehydrator's in Gibraltar at the moment. I'm really missing it.
It's missing you too, I'm sure.
Yeah. I miss no kale chips. And then just put that down.
I have mulberries here with dates and a little bit of pecans. Look pretty good. That was a good idea. Thank you, guys.
No worries. Okay, so I like the idea of dehydrating this. So can you see?
Beautiful. Yes.
Is that like a serving for one?
Depends who you are, but yeah, I could eat that.
It's a little
I'm
small
about-
for Grant.
Yeah, you can have mine as well, as usual. Yeah, I'm actually not going to eat any of this. I'm off the fats, Doug.
You're getting thinner by the week.
Yes. Okay, is everybody okay?
So how are you going to cut this little baby?
Well, ideally, it'd be in the fridge for 24 hours, just so it all condenses a bit more, and it'll, with the date sauce and everything, it'll go, the apples inside will go gooey with the filling. But I'm just going to slice it as normal.
Right, because the sugars from the dried fruit cause the apples to get softer.
Yeah,
Nice. It pulls the sugars out of the fruit. Or pulls the water, I'm sorry, pulls the water out of the fruit.
We were to dehydrate it to warm it up before dinner. How long do you think?
that's a great idea.
Oh, I don't know how long. I think how long is up to you. It would take probably 20 to 30 minutes just to warm up through and through. But if you did it for an hour or two, it wouldn't hurt it.
What temperature?
Yeah. What is that? I got to do the math to give you. That's not
Probably
120,
at
25
Yeah.
in Fahrenheit. Where are we? 50?
115 is the usual we do.
There's a lot of concern about the temperature of the dehydrator. When you first put food in the dehydrator, though, the first thing the food does is it sweats. And while it's sweating, just like when you're sweating, it helps keep you cool. When the fruit or the veggies are sweating, they're losing moisture and the fruit itself stays cool. So in the first hour, you can use a warmer temperature and not be so concerned. But then, like if I'm doing something overnight, I turn it well down, 115, 120. But if you turn it down too much, a lot of foods will go moldy before they go dry. So it's not a bad idea to do that first hour and blow off some of the excess moisture and then turn it down.
Thank you.
Okay, so is everybody ready for the ice cream?
Look at that, my pie, Tom. Look at that. Oh,
That looks delicious. Okay, so well done, Larissa. I'll move this out of the way. So I've basically got four frozen bananas, and these have been out of the freezer for about 30 minutes, just so they soften up, because I've actually got a new food processor because mine's in Gibraltar. So I don't know if it can handle making the ice cream. So what I'm going to do, I'll basically let them thaw out a bit. I'm just going to cut them into smaller pieces and then put them in. I'll do 5. I'll probably eat this after.
What kind of blade do you have in your food processor? The S blade?
Just an S blade, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually only one side for some reason. I hope it handles it. So this is just frozen bananas, and I'm gonna blend them up straight. If anybody wants any ice cream recipes, my mate Nate has done an ice cream book. You can find that on Ice Cream King. on his Instagram. Loads of different flavors. Crazy, really nice. So I'm just going to blend this up now. I don't think this blade's going to handle it. No, it is, yeah. Just.
So you just have frozen bananas in there and nothing else, right?
Yeah, it's just frozen bananas. If you've got any vanilla essence, you could put that in there. I've actually got some blueberries here. I could throw them in.
What a lot of people do, Tom, what I do at my house anyway, and what I teach people to do is put in 2 or 3 fresh bananas and let them turn into a slurry first.
Yeah.
Then add your frozen bananas because the warmth from those will help the frozen bananas go to the right temperature. But the frozen bananas are so cold that they'll freeze the fresh bananas on the spot, and you'll still end up with ice cream.
Yeah.
Without some of the hassle that you're going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, no, they are actually thawed out. It's just this S blade's only got one side, so it's not. It's working, but really slow. It's just not catching. Okay. Okay. I mean, sometimes, like, I used to add oat milk or something. It's not 8 to 10 no, but or soy milk or something, a plant-based milk, just to help it go along in a Vitamix. But yeah, we can't do ice cream today. Well, you can if you've got a Vitamix.
As we say, the same thing. You can make banana milk just as
Yeah.
well. You throw in a little water, a little fresh banana, pour that into that mixture.
Yeah.
Banana milk will do the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing that works really well is just doing half as much quantity. And when you do a lot smaller quantity, the food processor is much happier.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so it's like it's done, but there's still chunks in there though, so. I'm going to cut this into six.
Tom, I'm thinking it would be really nice to put some of that crumble on the ice cream as well. What do you think about this idea?
Yeah, well, I was just going to put some pecans on top, but yeah,
Okay.
that'd be delicious, yeah.
Oh my gosh. What a deal. Cake and ice cream, pie and ice cream.
Ah, looks really good. I'm gonna just lick it.
And like Larissa said, you could use some of the crumble, or you could just cut some pecans into little pieces. And then just sprinkle them on top of the ice cream. And then you could add any other fruit that you want. I've actually got some blueberries here. And then these are the apples that I was talking about earlier on. These are Kissabel apples. I've only ever seen these here in the UK. Really sweet and delicious.
I have something very similar growing in my garden in England.
Have you?
Yes.
So that's the size difference. Really sweet, Doug.
Really sweet.
Yeah. Okay. And that's basically it. Ideally, you'd want to leave the crumble in the fridge overnight for 24 hours, just so like we were talking about earlier, but I'm going to taste it. I'll have one bite.
It's delicious, Tom. Wow.
You made it so beautiful.
Mm.
You're saying that the only thing matters was the taste, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Your presentation is beautiful.
So good.
Can we see it again? Look at how nice he made this.
Wow.
And if you didn't have access to that apple, you could have used slices of guava and they would look almost the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've got guava here in the house right now. I had them at the start of dinner, and I mean, they look surprisingly like that pink, that color pink, same as your apple.
Yeah. Delicious.
Wow. Thank you, Tom. That was such a treat. apple crumble for breakfast. It is gorgeous, delicious. Just got it out and having my wonderful rainy breakfast. So beautiful. Thank you, Chef Tom.